All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Linnea Yundestead, and I am the Director of New Student and Family Programs at Virginia Commonwealth University. And I just want to welcome you to our webinar about making the move. We know that it is about to be a very exciting time for many of you, hopefully for all of you. It's a very exciting time. And we've got some really great campus partners joining us today to share some information about preparing for move-in on campus, preparing for the process if your student might be moving off campus, and then also some information about Welcome Week. So we're really excited to share all of that with you today. We will have this webinar captured in a video recording that we will make available on our website, which is the New Student and Family Programs website, nsfp.vcu.edu. And we will also promote that on our VCU Families Facebook page. So if you're not on that Facebook page and you do use social media, I encourage you to get on there, like it. We post a lot of stuff throughout the week and throughout the year, really, but pretty much daily posts that you'll see relevant information there for you. Throughout this conversation with you all today, if you have questions about something that a presenter mentions or maybe something that didn't get mentioned, we encourage you to utilize the chat function that Zoom offers. So if you look, for me, the way that I have my display set up, if you kind of scroll to the bottom, a little bar will pop up and it'll say chat, and you can just click on that and type your question in right there, and we will make sure to get those questions addressed. You can also just use this as a function to be able to communicate with one another or to be able to communicate information to us that you think might be helpful. So we encourage you to use that. And without any further ado, I don't want to take up any more of our time. So I'm going to turn things over to my partners over in Residential Life and Housing, Megan and Allie, and I'll let them introduce themselves a little more formally and tell you all about the process for on campus. Thanks, ladies.
Hi. We are here from Residential Life and Housing. My name is Allison Patel. I'm the Associate Director of Facilities and Event Services.
And my name is Dr. Megan Becker. I'm the Associate Director of Residential Life here at VCU.
We have a PowerPoint that we're going to share with you. So we're going to screen share that right there. So we have some tips for successful move-in that we'd like to share with you. These are some things that we've gone over in some previous orientation presentations, things like that, but we just want to make sure that everybody is ready and excited to come to campus in the next couple of weeks.
All right. So just kind of wanted to review some move-in dates with all of you. So we actually have one of our first big move-in weekends happening this upcoming weekend in just a couple days. So this Sunday, August 11th, we have 700 RAM campers moving in, and that is Sunday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then on the following weekend, the big move-in where the majority of everyone will be arriving will be Saturday, August 17th. And that move-in is from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And approximately 4,500 students and their families will be embarking on campus to get moved in.
So we want you to stay connected. And the best ways to stay connected with us are through the RAM guide and through the move-in portion of the RAM guide. We have that is updated on a regular basis and is the most up-to-date way to make sure that you know what's going on with move-in. We can also point you to our website, which is housing.vcu.edu/move-in, and that's move-in with a hyphen between move and in. It has all the information that you need about when your student is moving in, the best ways to move in, all the information we're going to go over today is on the website, including a lot more. So do check that out if you have not already.
So you can see here we've indicated move-in colors, and what that means is that every hall has a different color assigned to them for move-in. And so your students may have already received something in the mail with labels with their color in their building so that you can label their belongings for move-in. But these colors are really important because this is going to help signify kind of where you need to go when you arrive on campus. So Brant Hall is teal. Gladding Residence Center, or more commonly known as GRC, is a light blue. The Honors College is green. Johnson Hall may look a little bit like yellow on your screen there, but it's actually lime green. And then Rhodes Hall is purple, and then West Gray South is orange. Those are the colors that you're going to want to be looking for when you arrive on campus. There's going to be balloons and signage that correspond with those colors for your building, so you know what lanes to get in for traffic, and just kind of make sure that you're in the right space. We just try to make it as easy as possible for you, so make sure you know your student's building color.
All right, our move-in times, residents are assigned a specific move-in time based on their floor assignment. We space those out so that we don't have everyone coming at once. It makes it a lot easier to manage our larger buildings when we have that spaced out. The assigned times can be found in the RAM guide or on the website. Again, please check those spaces out because those are updated as of last week with the most up-to-date information. And we do recommend that you come during your residence assigned time. Their RA will be up on their floor so that they can introduce themselves and help with anything that's going on the floor. And then all of your residents, fellow floor mates will be moving in at the same time. So it's a really great way to go ahead and meet people, as well as move in at the same time as your roommate. So you can do all of that at the same time.
Awesome. So you can see here, this is kind of a picture from one of our handouts. Our handouts are a new thing that we are excited to roll out this year. And so you'll be receiving a handout when you arrive on campus and you start getting in line to unload your vehicle outside of your building. We will be having staff greet you and handing you a hall-specific handout. You can see on the screen that this is a Gladding Residence Center handout. But on one side, you'll have this map and it will show you your building color, as well as kind of where parking is available for long-term 5-hour parking after you've unloaded your items. And then on the back side is instructions. And so we want to make sure that we are upfront and clear as possible with our communication about what to expect once you finish going through the traffic lines and are ready to unload. We want you to have this information on how to unload your vehicle, what are the steps for your student for their check-in process, parking expectations, and what parking decks to go to. Also, we want to make sure you understand carts and where you can receive a cart and check out a cart, how to go about checking out a cart, as well as we try to be as realistic as possible with you regarding the elevator line expectations, how many elevators are available, and then also just reminding you that it's important that you understand you need to stand in the elevator line every time you want to go up and utilize the elevator. And then we've also provided some information about if you have questions, who to get in contact with. So we're really excited to roll this out this year, and we hope that that will improve our just overall communication and process for your move-in experience this year.
As Megan mentioned, we've got long-term parking and unloading zones around the buildings. Our streets and our curbs are for unloading only. We're not allowing anyone to park on the streets. So once you have unloaded, you'll need to immediately move your vehicle to a long-term parking deck. We will have volunteers available to wait with belongings if you don't have a large caravan of people coming with you. And parking decks are free for 5 hours. So in that handout that you'll be receiving before you get to the curb, the handout will list the parking decks that are dedicated for the building that your student is moving into. And then it will also have the address where that parking deck can be found. There will also be a backup parking deck in case that parking deck is full. And then the parking decks are free on move-in day. And available for 5 hours. So we encourage you to come in, park your car in the parking deck, enjoy your time together in the residence hall, and then maybe go out for lunch, or depending on what time you're moving in, dinner, or even breakfast. And then just enjoy being around Richmond for a little bit. The information that you see on the screen and that we're talking about can all, again, be found on the RAM guide, on the housing website, and then on the handouts that we will provide when you arrive.
So We're going to jump into some tips for a successful move-in. And our first one is label all items with your name and room number. This is really important. So we are going to have volunteers ready and available to help you and assist you to unpack your vehicles. And so it's important that your items are labeled so they're not misplaced and easily located when you begin the unpacking process when you get up to your room.
Right. Equally important is that your student brings their VCU ID to their residence hall for check-in. It would be a real shame for them to go and get up to the check-in line and then not have any way for them to check into their hall because they don't have any kind of ID. So if they don't have a VCU ID yet, don't worry. They can bring a state-issued ID or a federal ID, and that will also get them the access that they need to get into the residence hall.
And they'll have the opportunity to get their VCU ID card as the card office is open during August 17th move-in weekend.
Yeah.
All right. Also, just as a reminder, help your student pick what they really need to bring. We're really suggesting to be selective of what you bring here in the fall. So coming and arriving in August, you probably don't need their winter coats. That's something that they can get when they come to do a fall visit at home. Really try to encourage your students to bring just the necessities to make your move-in experience a lot smoother and not having to bring all of their items up on that one day. We encourage them to go home or for you to visit with additional items once they realize what they actually need for the entire academic year. And remember, the less that you bring now, the less you'll have to move home in the spring semester.
Similarly, if you leave room in your car for a dolly or a hand cart so that you can make that move-in process a little bit faster, the carts that we have available will go fast, and so the line for those tends to be long and can last up to an hour. So in order to save yourself an hour of waiting in the August sun in Richmond, we do encourage you to bring a dolly or a hand cart or a wagon, something with wheels, so that you can quickly move to the next portion of waiting, which is elevators.
All right. Also, just as a reminder, it's important to encourage your student to say goodbye to their furry family members at home. We want to make sure that they do not overheat during move-in, and that will not be a fun experience. So unless your student has an approved emotional support animal or service animal, it's really important that you're leaving that family pet at home, as animals are not allowed in the residence halls unless approved. And so we don't want to have any animals that are left outside or in vehicles during move-in.
Our elevators and line expectations. So the elevator line can extend very far, and wait times can be an hour or more at certain times during the day. Even when we space out the arrival times for folks, the elevator lines can get pretty hefty. So it's important to be prepared for that wait. We will have tents set up in some of our larger areas, but it will be hot. We recommend that you use the stairs whenever possible. If you're carrying a load of pillows, then you might want to use the stairs, especially if your student is on a lower floor. And then just a reminder that everyone will need to wait in the elevator line each time they plan to use the elevator, even if they have finished moving in, or if this is the 5th trip upstairs, everyone has to wait in that same line in order to use the elevator. We also recommend that you know your student's room number in case you're split up into separate elevators, or yes, basically, so that if you're split up into separate elevators, then you know where your student lives and you can reach them when you get upstairs.
And then just want to remind or encourage folks to limit the number of helpers that you bring on move-in day. This is not necessarily the time to bring 20 helpers or 10 family members. Really, the ideal number is to have like 3 to 4. So your student and then 2 to 3 more helpers. Like a group of 4 is really ideal in terms of making sure you get your vehicle unpacked, getting your items into carts and pushed up standing in the elevator line to get upstairs. The more people that are here, the more crowded it is. And so we just really encourage folks to bring the appropriate number of family members with them or friends to move in, and highly encourage additional family members that are interested in seeing their students' residence hall room, that maybe they come a few weekends in or come for family weekend in October. And so just if you can help kind of limit the number of helpers that arrive on move-in day, that will be great for all around.
And then just a couple of final tips. We know move-in is going to be hot. August is always hot in Richmond. We will have water available for folks, but please do stay hydrated. We also want you to remember that you'll be outside for a good portion of move-in. So if you need sunscreen or hats or some sort of protection from the sun, please do wear that. Please also wear comfortable shoes. We definitely recommend closed-toed shoes for moving. We don't want to lose any toes to wayward dollies or dropped refrigerators. So please do make sure that you are prepared for a lot of movement and activity and outside waiting.
Also keep an eye on the weather. So if it is supposed to rain, we're saying it's not going to rain, but if it does, make sure you're prepared and have rain jackets or plastic to cover your items as you're unpacking your vehicles and transporting those items inside so the items don't get ruined. Well, those are all of our tips. Wanted to see if there were any questions before we turn it over to our other campus partner to present on off-campus housing.
If you do have questions, remember you can post them in the chat and we will answer those. Any questions about the on-campus move-in process? We'll give it just another few seconds. And if you post one and it comes up after we get started with the next section, we'll come back to it.
Hi, this is Misha. I have a quick question for you.
Yes.
For the resident hall specific move-in guides, are they in the app, or is that something that you're giving out the day of, or is that something I can download off the website?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there is a specific 2019 move-in guide within RAM Guide.
Okay.
You downloaded RAM Guide for an orientation visit.
Mm-hmm.
There, if you search guides within RAM Guide, there should be a 2019 move-in guide. And once you download that, you'll be able to click on the specific building that your student's living in. And that will give you the times that your student's supposed to be moving in based off of their housing assignment, as well as will outline the parking information as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
And then the handout that we also mentioned, that will be handed out once you arrive.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we're going to go ahead and turn things over now to Lisa from the Dean of Students office, who's going to talk a little bit about the off-campus process. Take it away, Lisa.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
So my name is Lisa Matthews Aylesworth. I work in the Dean of Students office and help students with off-campus housing. So primarily we'll be talking about that process, and I know for some of you it may not apply, but I encourage you to stay online and just observe, being that in the future you may have to go through this, and hopefully at graduation you'll have to go through this. So let me go ahead and share my presentation. And please, throughout this, if you have questions, feel free to ask us. Give me 1 second. Okay, cool. Can you still see my screen? Great.
Yep, we can see.
Awesome, thank you. So first things first, I would encourage you to get in touch with your students' roommates to talk about their process, what they're planning to bring. First off, I definitely encourage you to touch base with the roommates in regards to all the payments and just ensuring that everything is all set to go with the landlord. So making sure that all the first month's rents were paid, security deposits, any application fees, making sure that everyone has their co-signers completed, and just touching base with each other, and then also touching base with the landlord to confirm that you guys are all set to move in. In addition to that, I encourage everyone to fill out a roommate agreement with their roommates. So that's where you go through as a group and they'll all sit down and talk about what are the rules for the house, how are they going to handle different situations. So those tenant agreements can be found on our website, which is offcampus.vcu.edu. But essentially, some of the things that you'll want to talk about is definitely, if it's a joint lease, how they're going to handle rent. So typically on a joint lease, rent is due as one lump sum. So if there's 4 roommates and it's $500 a person, then they owe a check for $2,000 every month. Some landlords do allow individual tenants to pay their $500, and they'll, as long as it sums up to $2,000, they're good. But for other properties, they require that everyone put a check, or sorry, that each unit submits 1 check. So if you are in that case where it's 1 check per unit, you want your student to talk to the roommates about what happens if someone's late on their payment. So if I'm roommate A and I accept everyone's money and then I turn around and write a check to the landlord, but roommate B got me their money late, who pays that late charge? Is it on the person writing the check, or is it on the person that turned it in late? So that's something that you guys will want to clarify prior to anything arising. In addition to that, if utilities are included, you'll want to talk about who's going to put their names on which utilities, and I'll go through that a little bit more in a second. But essentially, the best strategies I've seen is that each roommate puts their name on a different utility, so they're all equally held accountable. If I'm roommate A and I put my name on everything, be it internet, trash, water, and electricity, and my roommates get upset with me and don't pay me, I'm the one that's held accountable because my names are on the account, not them. So by diversifying the responsibilities, that helps us be responsible to one another. Other things to discuss are definitely subletting. So that's when someone who wants to move out of the unit finds someone to take over their room. And if that's allowable with the other roommates as well as the landlord, you'll want to discuss that. You'll want to discuss guest policy. So how long can someone have a friend over? Is 1, 2 nights okay? 3 nights okay? How long is too long? Also with guests, you want to set up policies as to when is it okay or not okay to have guests over that are unattended. So you'll find that a lot, especially with college students, that they may give a key to a best friend or to a boyfriend or whatnot. So the roommates need to be aware of that and discuss it prior to move in. They should also probably set up quiet hours for the house as to what time should headphones be used, no loud music, so that way other people can study or sleep. They'll also want to talk about pets, if they're going to have any in the household, who's responsible for them. Smoking is another one. Is smoking allowed inside or outside is usually dependent on the landlord, but the roommates may also want to set up their own kind of parameters in regards to where outside, or is it okay at all. And then the biggest ones that I recommend that your students talk about prior to move-in is going to be sharing and chores. So what's okay to share? And I get a lot of students that say, yep, everything's okay to share. I don't care. I'm very open. But there's always a line with everyone, be it sharing underwear, sharing food, something. There's got to be a line. So definitely encourage them to talk to one another about what's too far. And then lastly, the most important thing is going to be the renewal of the lease. So most leases in Richmond are joint leases. That means all the roommates are equally held accountable for the lease. And most of them require the tenants to give notice anywhere from 30 to 120 days prior to the end of the lease if they're going to stay or go. However, if that notification is not given, then sometimes the lease will automatically renew. So you'll want all the roommates to be on the same page. I recommend to all roommates, unless 100% of the students want to stay, then they end the lease, and whoever wants to stay can find new roommates and create a new lease for the coming year. But I encourage you once again to talk about that prior to move-in, or at least within the first couple weeks. In addition to that, I also encourage students to come up with game plans in case of conflicts. So to set up times to have regular meetings or household meetings to discuss how things are going in the household, as well as create modes of communication, be it text, post-it notes, how are they going to communicate, a group chat, whatever it may be, so that way when things do come up, they do communicate with one another. I would also encourage everyone to be open to communication and be respectful of one another. If issues do arise, please feel free to reach out to me. I can help mediate any roommate situations, as well as talk to any roommate about what are some good communication strategies, sharing strategies, just discussion keeping in mind that if the students are in a joint lease, they're now financially responsible for one another. So.
And really quickly, Lisa, before you move on, we have a pretty important question that just came up in the chat that I think either you or Allie or Megan might be able to address. And the question is it pretty much a fact that after sophomore year, there isn't enough housing available for upperclassmen to live on campus? Can you all address that question?
Yeah, I'll let Allie take that one, or let On-Campus Housing take that one.
Yeah, so we do tend to prioritize our sophomore population after our first year population. So we have our sophomore living experience that is in Cary and Belvedere. And then we also have living learning programs that are in West Grace North, West Grace South, and Grayson Broad Residence Center. So that doesn't leave a whole lot of room for our juniors and seniors. And we do run a lottery program to allow students to sign up, but there won't be enough space for all students who want to live on campus to live on campus. Do you have anything else to add?
No, you got it all.
Yeah.
Cool. So if your student does end up off campus, please know that I'm here to help them with the entire leasing process, help them figure out their budgets, find roommates, and even help with the move-in and throughout their entire process. So there is lots of support available. Just keep us in mind when you get there. Cool. So I'm going to go back to, well, I guess this kind of pertains to on campus and off campus. When you're thinking about what your student needs to pack, I encourage you to think room by room. That way you don't miss anything. Or you could think about it throughout the day. What do they use or don't use? But I think room by room makes it the simplest. So these are the different topics you want to talk to the roommates about. So for example, in the living room, who's bringing in the couch? Who's bringing a coffee table if they want that? Who's bringing a light or TV or gaming stations? Do they need blinds or curtains or rugs? So those are all different things that if it's a shared common area and furniture is not provided, then they may want to bring their own. In regards to the kitchen, that's where I think things get way more complicated. Typically, we have a lot of students that kind of bring their own stuff, use their own stuff. But however, if you've got a household of 4 or 5 students, perhaps they could share a lot of items. So some things they might want to consider bringing are definitely like a kitchen table, chairs, stools. If a microwave is not included, usually you definitely want to get one of those. Most of our students do microwave a lot. Perhaps a coffee maker, a mixer, a blender. Once again, you may need curtains depending on the type of property you're in. And then the other essentials I think are definitely like trash can, recycling can, dishes, silverware, knives, cups, mugs. Tupperware is one that gets overlooked sometimes. Perhaps a lunchbox. One of the things I do encourage students to do is to pack as often as possible because that'll help keep their budgets low and help them be more nutritious. So if they're going to pack a lunchbox, ice packs, ice trays, pots, pans, bakeware, mixing bowls, mixing spoons, and then definitely can opener. That's one that sometimes gets missed and is definitely essential in the kitchen, as well as a timer. And then I also encourage students to bring a fire extinguisher. The number one cause, or I guess location of fires in student rentals are definitely in the kitchen, and usually it's a grease fire or some kind of cooking incident. So if you can purchase a fire extinguisher, that's definitely very helpful. Most students that are living off campus will usually like assign different shelves or different areas in the kitchen for each person's stuff. However, some households do pick out different staples that they're willing to share. So some of those staples can kind of be hand soap, trash bags, Ziploc bags, those items that you don't buy on a regular basis or that you wouldn't necessarily use as an individual frequently. So that's definitely something that they want to talk to each other as a group and discuss, how are we going to handle this? Is roommate A going to buy everything now, and then as we need to replace things, then roommate B will buy it, and then roommate C? Or do they go shopping together and just say, okay, we're going to buy all these items and then split the cost 3 ways, 4 ways, whatever it may be? I would highly encourage students to become comfortable talking about funds, especially now that they're financially responsible to one another. Because everyone sees finances differently. So I would encourage them to discuss things before items get purchased. There's a lot of issues that arise when roommate C goes and buys a new TV and then tries to charge everyone for it. So have them talk these things out, especially prior to move-in if able. When you're thinking about the bathroom, some things to think about are definitely blow dryers, straighteners. Almost all properties won't have shower curtains or shower liners. And then most students are also responsible for bringing their own towels, washcloths, bath mats. And then some of the staples they might want to discuss sharing are definitely going to be toilet paper, perhaps some toiletries. A first aid kit is always useful in a house. You never know when someone's going to have a cut or a burn. And then also over-the-counter medications are important, like Dayquil, NyQuil, Advil, those types of things. And then a toilet brush and plunger are also useful. And as parents, I would encourage you to teach your students how to use a plunger and when to use it. A lot of them will become very nervous or shy if something does happen, and then that can lead to further damages. So just encourage them to report anything that does ever break or does not work in a timely manner. In regards to the bedroom, you've got, of course, the bed, pillows, mattress, desk, chair, nightstand, dresser, storage options. Electronics wise, you want to think about lights, computers, printers. Power strips are one that some people overlook sometimes. And then, of course, all the different fabrics. So sheets, comforters, curtains, blinds, all their clothing. And some of the other items you may forget are going to be like a trash can or bed risers can also be useful depending on the size of the room. I know I'm flying through all this, so please know that we'll send you links to these presentations, as well as all this information is located in our housing guide. I'll go in and update that this afternoon with these different shopping lists. So I went ahead and did a closet, as in like a common area, or you could think about it as like a shed type thing. So does your student want to vacuum, a steamer or iron? How do they want to handle laundry? So are they going to share laundry detergent, or is everyone bringing their own? And same with cleaners. So just multi-purpose cleaners, tub cleaner, broom, laundry baskets. And then if your student is living in a house, they may be responsible for the outdoor maintenance. So are they responsible for cutting the grass? Then you guys will want to get a lawnmower, shovel. If they bring a bike, making sure they have a bike lock, so that way they're locking up their bike when they're at home and when they're away. So those are kind of all the different packing items that you'd want to think about. And then next we're going to talk about all the other things that you need to set up in advance. So next is definitely utilities. If they're not included, you have to set all those up, and I highly recommend that you set those up prior to move in. And once again, put a different name on each utility. I've seen a lot of different strategies done in regards to payments. So some students will keep a jar in their kitchen and put cash in it whenever they need bills paid. So for example, each student may be responsible for putting $50 in the jar by the 1st. And that way when person A's bill comes in, they go to the jar, they take out the money they need and leave the receipt. And then person B does the same and C does the same. And then when they run out of money, they all put equal shares back in. And that way they're not worried about who owes who what money, or, hey, I need this money from you by this date because we have a late fee. It just depends a lot on the household. Others will do Venmo, of text each other whenever money is due and then Venmo each other their share for whichever bill. However, that can also get kind of complicated if roommate A's bill is electricity and is usually around $100 a month, but then roommate B's bill is responsible for internet and that's only $60 to $80. So there's just a lot to discuss. And if you ever do need help with creating a payment plan, please let us know. If you need to set up electricity, almost all the houses within walking distance of VCU are all going to be on Dominion Power. So there's a website you can go to have their stuff set up. You'll need their address, the student's legal name, social security number, their email address, and if there is a meter number at that address, if it's multiple units, you'll want that as well. You will have to set up an appointment for the electric company to come up and turn on your services. So note that those can only be done between Monday and Friday from 8 to 5, and that there is a $14.41 charge for doing that. And also to set up an account, usually there's a security deposit required of $250. If you or someone you know has Dominion Power, they can usually add on your student's address onto their account if that's easier. You also may want to ask about equal monthly billing. So here in Richmond, it gets very hot in the summertime and very cold, not very cold, but it gets cold in the winter. So you can ask them to do equal month billing where they kind of average out how much you are expected to pay for electricity. So that way you don't have spikes or lulls in your payments. And that can sometimes be useful to students who are just learning how to budget their money. In addition to that, you'll want to set up your internet cable for your student, especially because they'll need Wi-Fi or internet to complete a lot of their tasks or assignments for class. I always encourage you to talk to the landlord first to see who has been a provider in the past, and you may want to go with one of those companies. If not, you're welcome to call any of these companies and just give them your address, and usually they can tell you if they're able to service that property or not. And typically internet runs around $60 to $80, and then cable, it just depends. In addition to that, almost all the properties within walking distance are in Richmond city limits. So they'll work with Richmond City Public Works to get their gas, water, and trash set up. Right there's a telephone number, so I'll email that. That will be included in this document as well as on our guide. And once again, you'll have to set up an appointment for them to come out and connect services or like start your services. So please set that up in advance of moving in, or for the appointment to either be the day you're moving in or the couple days afterwards. Sooner the better, of course. But for both appointments for electricity and for gas, water, trash, they require someone to be present during those appointments. So that's why you should set it up for the day you move in or the next day. Also, you'll want to talk to your student about where the trash is located. So for a lot of households, they'll have bins in the back of their house, but perhaps they may have to pull the bins around to the front of the yard or onto the street each time that the trash comes by. So please talk to them about that. And if you need help figuring out which day is trash day for your student, there's a website that you can go to, and it'll, you type in the address and it'll tell you which day is your day. And then recycling is every other week in the city of Richmond. And if you ever need a new trash can, you can call 311. They do charge you for a new trash can, or you can provide your own. In addition to that, you want to think about parking. So if your student doesn't have, well, is bringing a car, they'll want to think about parking. So some households will have spots in the back of the property. Others will have a lot for the entire building if it's an apartment building. However, if you're looking for on-street parking, please make sure that your students are following parking signs. A lot of the areas in Richmond have a 2-hour maximum. However, there are zone passes available. So depending on where your student resides, they can get a pass for their house if they're in the Fan or in the Carver neighborhoods. It does cost $25 a year, and they do only allow 2 passes per household. So they'll want to talk to their roommates about who's parking where and who gets the passes. When you go to fill out the application, you will need a copy of the lease as well as the student's class schedule. If you don't have their class schedule, the city could require you to register their vehicle in the city of Richmond rather than in your hometown. There is off-street parking available, so if they're interested and live within 5 miles of VCU, they can purchase an off-campus housing permit, which allows them to park on VCU's campus for 24 hours, 7 days a week. It only costs $67 per month, which is usually better than most properties charge. However, they have to park in the Henry Street deck, which may be quite a walk depending on where they're living. In addition to that, they can also get a commuter pass. So commuter passes are set time limits each day, either from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. to 11 p.m. It does cost I'm sorry. Hold up, let me turn this off. Shut the door. So sorry about that. Let me go back. So sorry about that. Going back to different lots. So there's also private lots that are available, and there's a huge link on the website for those. In addition to that, I think on-campus housing touched on it. There is renter's insurance that you'll want to get. Depending if your student is a dependent on you, they may be covered in your homeowner's insurance. If not, you usually can add them for about $100 a year. And it usually covers their goods as well as any accidental damages depending on what the circumstances are. Going back to chores, it's important for the roommates to talk about what are their plans for cleaning in regards to trash bins, dishes, cleaning the kitchen, cleaning the bathroom, as well as who's going to purchase which shared items. In addition to that, I would recommend that you talk to your students about pets. A lot of students end up getting pets, without thinking about all the costs associated with them, as well as who's going to take care of the pet, especially over different breaks and things like that. So they should definitely discuss that prior. And I'm sorry that you guys can probably hear my dog barking. I apologize. In addition to that, you'll want to talk about the yard or outside responsibilities. So if they are in a house, they will be responsible for mowing and shoveling, as well as taking the trash out to the curb each day. If your student wants or needs, I definitely encourage them to set up a budget so that way they're able to plan ahead for all their different expenses. If they ever want help, we're always available. There's a budget that they can download from our website. But in addition to that, they can come meet with us face-to-face or meet with MoneySpot. And I encourage students to start working on their budgets now, because it's a lot easier when you have little income and little responsibilities to kind of hone in those skills. The other thing that's really important is before you pack up your stuff and are coming, I encourage you to set up a time with the landlord to pick up the keys. So a lot of offices may be closed different days depending if it's a weekend or not. In addition to that, the landlord may be out for lunch or whatnot, so you want to make sure that they're going to be present at the time you choose to arrive at the property, and or verify if you need to show up at their office. If you want movers, that's definitely another possibility, or if you want to reserve a truck, you want to set all those up ahead of time. There's lots of different moving companies available in Richmond, and they are very reasonably priced. So I encourage you to check out one of those if you're interested. Otherwise, the day of, I encourage you to bring a dolly like on campus. It makes the process a lot easier. And then I encourage you to go pick up the keys. And prior to moving anything into the unit, I encourage you to fill in your move-in inspection. So every tenant has the right to fill in a move-in inspection. And that's where you would walk through the property, take pictures of anything that's damaged, make sure that you're testing out all the appliances to make sure they all work. And then in addition to that, you'll want to keep copies of that document for yourself, as well as submit them to the landlord, because that's the document they'll use when your student goes to move out to verify how much to charge you. In addition to that, when you're moving items in and out, please make sure that you're not leaving your car unattended and your items unattended. We are a city. You'll have a lot of people walking by, and I don't want you to lose anything. In addition to that, I encourage you to take out all trash that you guys have that day. And keep in mind that they do bulk pickups in this city every 2 weeks. So if your student does have a lot of excess trash, it may sit out on the curb or may sit out there for a little while, but they will come and get it. Once again, I kind of flew through that. So all of that will be up on our website as of today or tomorrow. So our email is offcampus@vcu.edu, but our website address is offcampus.vcu.edu. And I'm also available via phone. So I'll go ahead and send this back to y'all. And do you guys have any questions?
Any questions at all about off-campus housing or the process, or anything you might need to be thinking about even for next year if you're the family of a first-year student or someone who's going to be living on campus this year?
Yay, so hopefully it sounds like all of you guys will be on campus and aren't to this process yet, but when you get there, make sure that you remember me.
Lisa, I have one question that might be helpful for people as they're planning ahead for next year. How early would you recommend students begin looking for off-campus housing if that's an option that they want to pursue or might need to pursue?
So first off, on-campus housing, their processes all start in February. So that's kind of when I recommend that they start thinking about which way do they want to go, on campus or off. And then usually around spring break is when you have to decide if you're going off to kind of start the process. I would say most students living on campus that are moving off try to find their roommates in a property all prior to finals. So usually by mid to late April, they try to finalize that whole process. That way, once summer hits and people start going their different ways, they already have a plan set up and are already secured. However, we do have students all the way till a week or two before classes that start their search then. It just depends on budgets and what you're looking for and the types of roommates as to how much time to allot. But I would say definitely the longer your student spends on it, the better, because it gives them more time to kind of feel the market and make sure they feel confident about the choices they're making. Does that kind of help?
Absolutely. All right, Allie and Megan, I'm going to turn it back over to you to talk with us briefly about what to expect for Welcome Week, or Weeks of Welcome, sorry.
Yes, so we are going to put up a picture real fast with the Weeks of Welcome logo and dates. All right. So you may have heard about Weeks of Welcome if you attended orientation this summer, but just kind of want to encourage you to have a conversation with your students about participating in the Weeks of Welcome. So the Weeks of Welcome is for all students, not just first-year students, but for all students, where they can get connected to campus resources, and focus on, fostering a sense of belonging with the institution, as well as, like I said, get connected to campus resources. So it begins Sunday, August 18th, and goes through Saturday, September, sorry, the date I can't see, 28th that you can see. But yes, so over those 6 weeks, there is a variety of events that are being hosted by a lot of different campus partners. And so some of the things that I wanted to highlight specifically for you to encourage your students to participate in. So for first year students, there are first floor meetings happening on that Sunday right after they move in on the 18th, where they will be meeting with their RA, getting introduced to their hall director, learning about hall policies and expectations, as well as getting connected to their community and meeting people. So highly encourage your student to participate in that, as well as for upper class students returning, or transfer students returning to campus. Their first floor meetings will be posted in their residence hall areas, as they will be during that first week of school once the rest of the students have moved in. In addition, there is on Monday, August 19th, for first year students, there is what's called the Common Book Read. So hopefully your students received their book when they came for orientation and have read that in anticipation for these book reads. So they will be escorted to those conversations with faculty and staff members on Monday, August 19th, to have book discussions by their RA. In addition, there is convocation where they are getting welcomed by the university. So the president as well as the provost will welcome them to the institution. They'll participate in what's called the Spirit Walk, which is an annual tradition for students to participate in, get their first year student t-shirts, and then there's a fun block party at the end of the Spirit Walk. So highly encourage your students to participate in that. And then the next day kicks off the first day of classes. And that evening after the first day of classes, there's an event called House Calls. And so encourage your students to be home between 7 and 9 p.m. that evening on Tuesday, as faculty will be partnered with their RA to knock on doors for first year students, see how their first day of classes went, to answer any questions they might have about the institution, about classes, where things are located, anything we can really help them out with. We want to make sure their transition is going well. In addition, on Friday of that first week, there's a student org fair, and we highly encourage students to go and check out all the different student organizations that they can get involved in, learn about, and once again, to continue to foster that sense of belonging, to figure out, what they want to be connected to during their time here at VCU. So those were just a couple of things I wanted to highlight that's happening really within that first week, but there's a variety of other events happening over those 6 weeks, where students can learn about wellness. There will be library tours. There's going to be other rec sports events. So highly encourage your students to check that out. They'll see the schedule of events that's constantly being updated every day. There is a Weeks of Welcome guide within RAM Guide. And so send your student there to learn about what events are happening so they can attend those events around their classes over those first 6 weeks. Also, there's an incentive for students to participate by attending at least 2 events per week, every week during those 6 weeks. And as long as they go to those events and get signed in, they'll be entered in a drawing to win 1 semester of in-state tuition. So really great prize to be eligible to win, as well as there will be other weekly prizes to students that attend events as well. But that's the big grand prize. That's really all I got for you on Weeks of Welcome, but definitely encourage your students. And like I said, it's for all students, not just first year students.
Great, thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions regarding Weeks of Welcome? It's a really good time, and you'll notice that we referenced Family Weekend being an opportunity for you all to come back to campus. Family Weekend will be taking place October 4th through the 6th, so it's kind of right there at the tail end of the Weeks of Welcome, and that's very intentional. And so we do hope that you'll join us and see all the great things your students are doing. I just want to thank you all again for joining us and for being here with us. We do have another webinar scheduled for next Monday, August the 12th, and it is going to begin at 11 a.m., and that's here in Eastern Time. And that webinar is going to be entitled Paying for College, Understanding and Paying the Tuition Bill. So if you have questions about billing, tuition, payment plans, all that kind of information, that would be a really great one to tune in on. And again, that's happening at 11 a.m. and we'll make the link public on our VCU Families Facebook page. And so please do join us. And if you want to see topics for future webinars, you can go to the New Student and Family Programs website. It's just nsfp.vcu.edu. And you will see on that site that there is a really great tab for families that has a lot of information about the different initiatives that we do. And the webinars are one of those, and it does have future topics and dates listed there. Now, we have had one more question come in on the chat, and so this question is for Allie and Megan. The question is, where can I get the look inside of the residence halls? So can you tell us how to find that information?
Yes, I'm gonna do a video here. Okay, so you can go to our website. It's www.housing.vcu.edu, and we have UVisit tours that you can take. It's like a virtual tour that you can take of a room. It starts in the lobby of each residence hall, and it'll show you a room, and then some of the residence halls have other amenities that are also shown as well.
In addition, you'll be able to see your floor plans on the housing website as well. If you go to each residence hall page, there's floor plans, so you can see exactly where your student's room is located and the dimensions.
Yep.
Great. All right, so I just want to again thank all of our webinar presenters. Thank you so much to Allie and Megan and Lisa for coming and sharing your knowledge and information to help folks have a really successful move-in experience this year or next year or whenever the case might be. And really excited to have you all here, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And again, the recording of this webinar will be made available within the next couple of days on the New Student and Family Programs website, and will be promoted on the VCU Families page. So thanks so much, families. Have a great rest of your day.